Today is March 4th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It's a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today we are going to be reading out of the Big Book, Gratitude in Action, pages 195 through 197. And out of the 12 and 12, we're going to be reading Step 8, the second half of page 78. So with all that, my friends, let's get to the good stuff. Alright guys, so if you recall from yesterday's reading, we were talking about the story of Dave B., one of the founders of AA in Canada in 1944. And we were learning a little bit more about him yesterday, that he had an inferiority complex and some other reasons, but when he was asked, why do you keep drinking the way you're drinking? The only answer he could give was, I don't know, nurse. I really don't know. And that was many years before he found the fellowship. So today we're going to jump over to 195, and we're going to read 195 through 197 today. Bottom of 195. On Easter weekend, 1944, I found myself in a jail cell in Montreal. By now, I was drinking to escape the horrible thoughts that I had whenever I was sober enough to become aware of my situation. I was drinking to avoid seeing what I had become. The job I had done for 20 years and the new car were long gone. I had undergone 3 stays in a psychiatric hospital. God knows I didn't want to drink. Yet to my great despair, I always returned to that infernal merry-go-round. I wondered how this misery would end. I was full of fear. I was afraid to tell others what I felt, lest they would think that I was insane. I was terribly lonely, full of self-pity, and terrified. Most of all, I was in a deep depression. Then I recalled a book given to me by my sister Jean about drunks as desperate as I was, who had found a way to stop drinking. According to this book, these drunks had found a way to live like other human beings, to get up in the mornings, go to work, return home in the evening. This book was about Alcoholics Anonymous. I decided to get in touch with them. I had much difficulty reaching AA in New York, as AA wasn't as well known then. I finally spoke to a woman, Bobby, who said words I hope I'll never forget. I am an alcoholic. We've recovered. If you want, we'll help you. She told me about herself and added that many other drunks had used this method to stop drinking. What impressed me most in this conversation was the fact that these people, 500 miles away, cared enough to try to help me. Here I was, feeling so sorry for myself, convinced that no one cared whether I was dead or alive. I was surprised when I got a copy of the Big Book in the mail the following day. And each day after that, for nearly a year, I got a letter or a note, something from Bobby or from Bill or one of the other members of the central office in New York. In October 1944, Bobby wrote, "You sound very sincere, and from now on, we will be counting on you to perpetuate the fellowship of AA where you are. You will find enclosed some queries from alcoholics. We think that you're now ready to take on this responsibility." She enclosed some 400 letters that I answered in the course of the following weeks. Soon, I began to get answers back. In my new enthusiasm and having found an answer to my problem, I told Dory, my wife, "You can quit your job now. I'll take care of you. From now on, you will take the place that you deserve in this family." However, she knew better. She said, "No, Dave, I'll keep my job for a year while you go save the drunks." And that is exactly what I set out to do. As I look back on it now, I did everything wrong. But at least I was thinking of somebody else instead of myself. I begun to get that little bit of something that I am very full of now. And that is gratitude. I was becoming increasingly grateful to the people in New York and to the God that they referred to, but whom I found difficult to reach. Yet I realized that I had to seek the higher power that I was told about. All right, so that's it out of the Big Book. We'll return to that in just a minute. Let's jump over to the 12 and 12. All right, so if you recall out of the 12 and 12, we are just beginning step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And we've been talking about willingness, and yesterday we talked about how the obstacles of trying to forgive people can certainly be tough. And one of the obstacles is We resentfully focus on the wrongs that he has done to us. We're focused on what they did instead of what we did. So we're going to finish off page 78 going into 79. When listing all the people that we have harmed, most of us hit another solid obstacle. We got a pretty severe shock when we realized that we were preparing to make a face-to-face admission of our wretched conduct to those that we had hurt. It had been embarrassing enough when in confidence we had admitted these things to God, to ourselves, and to another human being. But the prospect of actually visiting, or even writing the people concerned, now overwhelmed us. Especially when we remembered in what poor favor we stood with most of them. There were cases, too, where we had damaged others who were still happily unaware of being hurt. Why, we cried, shouldn't bygones be bygones? Why do we have to think of these people at all? These were some of the ways in which fear conspired with pride to hinder our making a list of all the people we had harmed. All right, so that's a couple of really good, legit questions. Why shouldn't bygones be bygones? Why do we have to think of these people at all? And I always like, again, I have to clear some things with my sponsor or some trusted friends sometimes. Anytime I want to make an amends to somebody, whether it's direct or indirect, I kind of run it by them, because I've heard horror stories of people making amends that actually made things worse, where maybe more than one person was involved and families were involved, and it just caused a lot of damage, a lot more damage. So at the same time, there's been times where we maybe want to shirk that direct amends, and maybe God's lined it right up. You meet somebody in the grocery store you hadn't seen in years that you want amends to, and maybe that is the right call. Getting a second opinion oftentimes, and of course praying about it, are two ways that you can go about making these direct amends. But one thing's for sure, we can always make indirect amends to be a better person for the people around us that need us. That is something that I'm trying to do with my own family as well, for the rest of my life, to be that better man that they deserve. And going back to the big book real fast, I love that Dave's, he's got a sense of humor. You can certainly tell, he doesn't take himself too seriously, but I love that the New York office, they reached back out to Dave and they followed up with him. And, eventually when they figured out that Dave was serious about his sobriety and wanted to change, they gave him some responsibility. Said, okay, there's other people that need your help. So that doesn't just help the other people, obviously, that helps Dave too. Just like this podcast, it helps me probably more than anybody else. But I am so grateful that you all are here. Thank you so much for listening today, guys. I hope you all have a great one. As always, I don't speak on behalf of AA or any other sect or organization. I am just a guy, a grateful recovering alcoholic, and it is a thrill to be here with you. Hope you all have a good one, and I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.